Vision Foundation, registered name Vision Foundation for London. Annual report and financial statements for the year ended 1st of April 2023. Company number 03693002, charity number 1074958. Forward by Heather Goodhue, Chair of Vision Foundation. On behalf of the board, I would like to start by passing on our heartfelt congratulations to Olivia Curnow for all she achieved as Chief Executive of Vision Foundation in her incredible 4.5 years in the role, including everything documented in these pages. Trustees would like to extend formal thanks for all her hard work prior to the merger and her departure, passing the gauntlet to our new CEO, Keith Valentine. While this impact-focused year ended in a merger, it began with a gala. Speakers at the See My Skills Gala in May 2022 included Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh, formerly the Countess of Wessex, Sir John Major, Lord David Blunkett and Cherie Blair, CBE KC. All helped to raise awareness of inclusivity in the workplace, as well as a tremendous £100,000. Actor Eleanor Stollery and Vision Foundation's own grants manager, Kerry Firth, sang for attendees in what was a powerful and moving evening. Then, in November, the issue of blind and partially sighted people's experience of domestic abuse was brought to light by the shocking findings of our groundbreaking report, The Unseen. The Unseen was launched at the Houses of Parliament. Our Vice President, Frances Siegelman, Lady Petchy, live sculpted her fellow Vice President, Lord David Blunkett, while MPs and special guests came together to hear powerful accounts of lived experience of domestic abuse. I am proud to say that following the release of The Unseen, our organisation has facilitated a multifaceted and united response to domestic abuse, funding projects that tackle the issue directly. A huge thanks must go to all our supporters. Thank you to each and every individual who contributed to our Big Give Christmas Challenge, raising a wonderful £60,000. And to everyone who took part in a whole range of incredible challenge events on the behalf of blind and partially sighted people. No matter the scale of the support, it all contributes to a laser-focused social impact on the projects we support. Forward, Keith Valentine, Chief Executive. I'm a long-standing supporter of Vision Foundation and have immense respect for what everyone at the charity has achieved, something I've seen firsthand as a member of the grants panel. I am particularly indebted to Olivia Curnow for the knowledge and insight she passed on to me when Vision Foundation and Fight for Sight merged in April 2023. Olivia, myself and our respective boards forged this merger with passion and steadfast belief, since it makes us the only significant independent charitable funder of social impact and scientific research. Having science and services under one umbrella is game-changing in this sector. It has been an incredible year for Vision Foundation, and I have so much enthusiasm and energy for what lies ahead. It's going to be a big and important journey for us all. I'm thrilled to build on what we've already achieved as two separate entities to take us to the next level. My goal for us is nothing short of changing the world for blind and visually impaired people. Key highlights: 35 live projects reaching 21,723 people. £447,000 in new grants, investing in 20 funded partners in 22-23 in total, compared to £402,000 in 21-22. £208,000 towards employment. £80,000 towards resilience funding, £159,000 towards domestic violence and abuse, 13 mainstream media mentions reaching a combined audience of 197 million people, 6,254 people connected via social media, 21% audience growth on the previous year. Income increases: a 21% increase in retail, a 64% increase in corporate and trust donations, a 3% increase in income from legacies. Income decreases, a 24% decrease in individual giving. Our objectives, values and activities. Our mission is to make London a shining example of a sight-loss-aware city. Our purpose is to transform the lives of people facing or living with sight loss by funding projects which inform, empower and include. How will we achieve our goals? We will partner with charities working with blind and partially sighted people to improve and extend services and support. We will amplify the voices of blind and partially sighted people to inform our own work and partner with and influence businesses and services to be better placed to tackle their needs. We will improve eye health awareness amongst Londoners so they can take action to save their sight. Our values. Our values reinforce everything we do. They shape the way we work and the culture we endeavour to instil. We collaborate. The problems we seek to address are complex. No one organisation can do it alone. We wish to learn and share knowledge, combine skill sets and expertise, amplify impact and enable innovation. We empower. It is individuals with sight loss who have the insight, skills and experience to identify the most important issues, influence others and bring about lasting change. We work intelligently. The issue of sight loss spans research, health, stigma, employment, culture, sport, society, transport, safety, economics, equality and more. Without an intelligent, evidence-based approach, our efforts will not be focused and informed to bring about the greatest impact. We're courageous. Sight loss is a growing, urgent problem. Every day people needlessly lose their sight for life. Every day people unfairly miss out on opportunities. Every day people face abuse, disregard, isolation, poverty and depression. We must be brave today to bring about a brighter tomorrow. Our reach. Projects we supported in 2022-23. The list that follows shows the number of projects supported in each London borough. For more information about our projects, go to https://www.visionfoundation.org.uk/our-projects/. Number of grants by London Borough or country. Barking and Dagenham 20, Barnet 21, Bexley 22, Brent 21, Bromley 23, Camden 22, City of London 22, Croydon 25, Ealing 25, Enfield 22, Greenwich 22, Hackney 21, Hammersmith and Fulham 23, Haringey 24, Harrow 22, Havering 19, Hillingdon 22, Hounslow 25, Islington 22, Kensington and Chelsea 23, Kingston upon Thames 25, Lambeth 27, Lewisham 24, Merton 23, Newham 21, Redbridge 22, Richmond upon Thames 25, Southwark 24, Sutton 24, Tower Hamlets 25, Waltham Forest 23, Wandsworth 25, Westminster 22, Outside London England 24, Outside London Scotland 10, Outside London Wales 13, Outside London Northern Ireland 9. Our impact. Funding. In 2022-23, we funded £447,474, investing in 20 funded partners. £286,978 in September 2022, £208,013 towards employment, £79,965 towards resilience, £159,496 in March 2022 to the Domestic Violence and Abuse Fund. Partner Forum. We hosted our annual Partner Forum, which focuses on building a more resilient sight loss sector, in May 2022. A total of 27 experts from 23 funded organisations came together to explore post-pandemic challenges to organisational sustainability. They considered how frontline leaders are harnessing innovative approaches to adapt, including hybrid approaches to service provision, i.e. virtual and in person. This new direction led to discussion about the need to establish more robust approaches to digital inclusion and about collaborating and sharing practices and learnings about making tech support accessible. Partner updates. In June 2022, we funded a partner showcase in which 3 of our funded partners gave progress updates on their projects. These included Queen's Crescent Community Association on its Join In project, which meets our strategic aim of preventing avoidable sight loss, Middlesex Association for the Blind on its Clear Vision to Employment project, which meets the strategic aim of opening London up to blind and partially sighted people, employment opportunities, Metro Blind Sports Dance Dosti project, which meets the strategic aims of opening London up and empowering those at risk. Grants. To feed into the September 2022 grants process, we held an applicant insight session in June 2022. This gave applicants an overview of our grant-making process with an insight into our funding priorities, employment and resilience funding. Many organisations in attendance had suffered financial loss during the pandemic, and tangible takeaways concerned upping fundraising strategies. The Unseen. The Unseen report and campaign exposed blind and partially sighted people's experiences of domestic abuse, launching in October 2022. The Unseen report found at least 1 in 12 visually impaired people in the UK are estimated to have experienced domestic abuse, translating to 188,000 likely people in total. There is a nearly 3-fold higher prevalence of domestic abuse for all disabled people. Blind and partially sighted people who have experienced domestic abuse face many of the same abusive behaviours as fully sighted people. However, they face additional forms of abuse, such as the abuser moving things around the house so the blind or partially sighted person trips up or is unable to find items they need. Or they may withhold support, such as sighted guiding or accessible equipment. Those with a visual impairment may have a dependence on individuals for support, which may include the person perpetrating the abuse. This can result in complex risk-benefit negotiations for blind and partially sighted people experiencing abuse. Some blind and partially sighted people described professionals and family members encouraging them to stay with their carer perpetrator. The report was complemented by an awareness-raising campaign, and we produced 2 campaign films on YouTube and across social media. These amplified the voices of blind and partially sighted people who have experienced domestic abuse. The content was featured in press, including BBC Radio 4 programmes In Touch and You and Yours. Overall coverage achieved a combined reach of 19 million across Times Radio, BBC London, ITV News, The Independent, Optometry Today, Optician Online and Same Difference. The film was played for attendees at a House of Lords reception hosted by Lord Blunkett and was a nominee in the 2022 Charity Film Awards. Impact through influencing. There were many influencing highlights throughout the year. Our former Chief Executive Olivia Curnow presented the See My Skills campaign at the Whitehall and Industry Group, WIG, as part of its WIG Exchange programme. Our Director of Social Impact, Georgina Owuno-Gordon, contributed to a report by Regenerate called Solve for S, how businesses can approach the S in ESG and how partnerships with civil society can help. The hope is that the report will contribute to creating a shared and common understanding of how environment, social and governance, known as ESG, can support and encourage positive business impacts on society. In addition, how civil society partnerships can help businesses with their social impact goals. We also contributed to the Business Disability Forum's Sight Loss Toolkit, commissioned by Roche Products Limited. The toolkit was developed for employers, businesses, healthcare professionals and people with sight loss and their friends and families. And following the release of The Unseen, we designed and conducted a Tackling Domestic Abuse workshop in December. Key sector stakeholders came together to discuss the findings of the Unseen report, exploring potential solutions and collaboration. Further to that, our grants officer Kerry Firth presented findings from the Unseen at the Metropolitan Police Domestic Violence Spring Conference, which received a powerful response. Reference and administration information for the year ended 31st of March 2021. Company number 03693002. Charity number 1074958. Operating name Vision Foundation. Registered office and operational address Sir John Mills House, 12 Whitehorse Mews, 37 Westminster Bridge Road, London SE1 7QD. Country of registration England and Wales. Country of incorporation United Kingdom. Trustees. The trustees, who to 31st of March 2023 were also directors under company law, who served during the year and up to the date of this report, were as follows. Darren Barker, member of Grants and Impact Advisory Committee. Victoria Curry, member of People Committee. Keith Felton, member of Finance, Audit and Risk Committee, People Committee and Retail Committee. Heather Goodhue, chair, member of People Committee. Elizabeth Honour, member of Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. Bob Hughes. Lai Lam, Treasurer, Member of Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. Susanette Mansour, Member of People Committee. Dr. Amit Patel, Member of Grants and Impact Advisory Committee. Sharon Petrie, Member of Finance, Audit and Risk Committee and Retail Committee. On the 31st of March 2023, all trustees resigned as members of Vision Foundation when it merged with Fight for Sight. Fight for Sight was appointed as sole member. On the same day, all trustees resigned as directors, except for Keith Felton and Lai Lam, who remain as directors under company law, along with Fight for Sight, which was appointed as a corporate director. On the 1st of April 2023, Darren Barker, Victoria Curry, Heather Goodhue, Elizabeth Honour, Lai Lam and Dr. Amit Patel were all appointed as trustees of Fight for Sight, in addition to Keith Felton, who was already a trustee of Fight for Sight at this time. Key Management. Georgina Owuno-Gordon, Director of Grants and Impact. Phil Bevan, Director of Retail. Rebecca Clark, Acting Director of Fundraising. Olivia Curnow, Chief Executive to the 15th of March 2023. Ollie Minton, Director of Finance and Resources. Bankers, National Westminster Bank plc, 91 Westminster Bridge Road, London SE1 7HW. Auditor, Sayer Vincent LLP, Chartered Accountants and Statutory Auditor, Invicta House, 108 to 114 Golden Lane, London, EC1Y 0TL. Trustees' Annual Report for the year ended 1st of April 2023. The Trustees present their report and the audited financial statements for the year ended 1st of April 2023. The financial statements are reported up to the 1st of April 2023 to reflect the transfer of assets to British Eye Research Foundation, Fight for Sight, within the period. Reference and administrative information set out earlier in this recording form part of this report. The financial statements of the Vision Foundation for London, operating as Vision Foundation, comply with current statutory requirements, the Memorandum and Articles of Association, and the Statement of Recommended Practice, Accounting and Reporting by Charities, SORP, applicable to charities preparing their accounts in accordance with FRS 102. Public benefit. For over a century, the charity has successfully raised funds to support the work of charities engaged in meeting the ever-changing needs of blind and partially sighted people. Vision Foundation's articles set out the following objects. The purpose of the charity is for the public benefit, the relief of people in need by reason of blindness or visual impairment, and the advancement of education and health in all areas relating to blindness and sight loss, in particular but not limited to providing grants. The trustees review the aims, objectives and activities on a regular basis to ensure the charity remains focused on its stated purposes. This report looks at what the charity has achieved and the outcomes of its work in the reporting period. The trustees have referred to the guidance contained in the Charity Commission's General Guidance on Public Benefit when reviewing the charity's aims and objectives and in planning its future activities. In particular, the trustees consider how planned activities will contribute to the aims and objectives that have been set. During the year, Vision Foundation engaged in collaboration discussions with the charity British Eye Research Foundation, trading as Fight for Sight. In November 2022, the trustees of both organisations determined to enter into an agreement with the purpose of creating a new national charitable funder with the efficiency, capability and capacity to increase investment in medical research and social change. This is in support of those at risk of and living with sight loss. The combined organisational expertise in the funding of eye research and social intervention aims to deliver a uniquely informed organisation. It will place the experiences of people with lived experience of visual impairment at the heart of its ambition to drive improvement and change. The trustees of Vision Foundation and Fight for Sight were of the view that a single merged charitable company holding the assets and liabilities of each party was the most appropriate legal entity to achieve this aim. The trustees of Vision Foundation resolved that it was in furtherance of its objects for the charitable undertaking to merge with Fight for Sight by means of an asset transfer. Governance. Vision Foundation for London, the charity, is a registered charity number 1074958 and a company limited by guarantee under company number 03693002. The charity was formerly known as the Greater London Fund for the Blind, and the name was formally changed to Vision Foundation for London on the 31st of July 2019. The operating name is Vision Foundation. British Eye Research Foundation is a registered charity number 1111438 and a company limited by guarantee under company number 05525503. The operating name is Fight for Sight. Vision Foundation and Fight for Sight merged on the 1st of April 2023. On this day, all trustees resigned as members of Vision Foundation. All trustees also resigned as directors under company law, except Keith Felton and Lai Lam. On the same day, Fight for Sight was appointed as the sole member of Vision Foundation and as a corporate director. Vision Foundation transferred all assets and liabilities to Fight for Sight. Board and committees. The Board of Trustees is responsible for the overall governance, strategic management and planning of the charity, with the power to approve budgets, allocations, investments, retentions and such designation of any of the special reserves held. The Board meets at least 4 times a year. The Finance, Audit and Risk Committee meets prior to the 4 quarterly meetings of the Board to give more detailed consideration to such finance, audit and risk matters delegated to it by the Board. The People Committee meets at least twice in the year to consider and make recommendations to the Board on issues concerning staff remuneration and related policies, and to review the composition of the Board. This is to ensure an appropriate balance of skills and attributes. It also meets to oversee HR matters such as staff welfare and benefits, equality, diversity and inclusion, and to ensure compliance with employment-related laws and regulations. The Grants and Impact Advisory Committee meets at least twice in the year to review applications for the Vision Fund and other Vision Foundation grants programmes. It also considers recommendations to make to the Board on which projects to support. All members of the committee have lived experience of sight loss. The Retail Committee meets at least twice in the year to consider and make recommendations to the board on issues relating to our retail operations. The day-to-day management of the charity is delegated to the Chief Executive. During the year, the Articles of Association and Board Terms of Reference provided for a board composition of 10 to 14 members. Up to 16 members would allow for periods of induction or overlap when trustees are leaving or joining. The composition of the board was as follows: Chair of Trustees appointed by the board, an honorary officer, a Chair of the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee who will also hold the title of Honorary Treasurer and Honorary Officer, other trustees. Appointments were for a maximum of 2 terms of 3 years without a break. Each trustee also held the office of Director of the company. On the 30th of March 2023, the trustees resolved to amend the Articles of Association, reducing the required number of members to 1. On the 1st of April 2023, Fight for Sight was appointed as the sole member of the charity. Fundraising. The charity acts in compliance with the terms laid down by the fundraising regulator, data protection guidelines, and the highest professional conduct and standards when raising funds from the general public. Vision Foundation used no third parties or commercial participators in its fundraising activities in this financial year. In all our fundraising, we adhere to our fundraising policy, which is aligned to the Chartered Institute of Fundraising and the Fundraising Regulator's Code of Fundraising Practice. We did not receive any complaints about fundraising activity in 2022-23. Within our fundraising policy and approach, we ensure we protect vulnerable people, and our staff are trained in this area of our work. Volunteers. Across fundraising and retail, our volunteers remain a critical part of our infrastructure, providing vital support in our shops, through our community fundraising activities, and in our head office. All our trustees are volunteers, and we wish to offer thanks for their time and expertise. Our supporters and partners. As part of this report, we want to pay tribute and give our thanks to our donors, shop customers, volunteers and partners. Without their support, we would not exist. We seek to invest donations intelligently and to ensure as much money as possible goes to transforming the lives of those facing or living with sight loss. Our Royal Patron, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh, and our Vice Presidents continue to provide valuable support to Vision Foundation. Our Vice Presidents are the Right Honourable Sir John Major, KGCH, Sir Trevor MacDonald, Lady Frances Petchy, Ian Davis, current Master of the Worshipful Company of Spectacle Makers who succeeded the previous Master, Huntley Taylor, Lord David Blunkett, Cherie Blair, CBEKC, and Sir Rocco Forte. We're grateful for the time and commitment they give every year to help us raise awareness and advocate for blind and partially sighted people. Financial review. Total income was £2.6 million for the year ended 31st of March 2023, compared to £2.2 million in the last financial year. This income derives principally from trading and fundraising activities. Trading income was £1.2 million for the year ended 31st of March 2023, an 18% increase on 2022-23, £1.0 million. This represented 46% of the total income for the organisation, 2021-22, 47%. Funds are raised from voluntary sources through 3 types of fundraising activity. Events fundraising accounted for 11% of our fundraising overall in the year. Individual giving and legacies accounted for 67% in 2022-23. Trusts and corporate partnership accounted for 22%. Total expenditure increased from £2.2 million to £2.8 million this year, the difference relating to 2 different accounting adjustments. The amount distributed to grantees and for commissioned research totalled £0.46 million. When including activities such as grants management, campaigning and advocacy, charitable activity spend amounted to £1.04 million in the year. We are heartened we were able to support new projects at 20 organisations within the year, in addition to continuing support for 33 ongoing projects from previous years. Following a revaluation of our assets, we ended the financial year with a surplus of £1.2 million, compared to a £0.1 million surplus in the prior year. Reserves carried forwards as at the 31st of March 2023 were £3.6 million, 2021-22 £2.3 million. All reserves were transferred to Fight for Sight at midnight on the 1st of April 2023. Risks and uncertainties. The trustees recognise their responsibilities with regard to risk management and review the main risks to the charity regularly. They have been keen to ensure the charity has adequate procedures, processes and strategies in place to monitor, eliminate or mitigate any potential risks faced by the organisation. Particular attention is given to the staffing, operations and financial management of the charity. After review, the trustees were satisfied that the charity has appropriate systems of control in place to manage exposure to the key risks. The trustee board delegates specific powers to the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. As a subcommittee of the trustee board, the committee oversees financial and risk management matters, including reviews of endemic and specific operational risks. Mitigating strategies are employed as required, underpinned by ongoing monitoring and checking to ensure compliance with policies and best practice. The main risks or mitigating actions identified at the current time are those risks associated with the merger with Fight for Sight. In particular, a failure to define and deliver clear communicable strategic goals to donors, maintain standing in the sector and among the public, carry out our purpose in a period of significant organisational change, adapt to post-merger ways of working, effectively manage costs. We take these risks seriously and are carefully and thoughtfully adding capacity to support this work across the new charity to ensure we can provide a coherent and impactful vision for the future. We're also implementing strong governance processes and supporting the staff and volunteer teams through a period of transition. Reserves policy and going concern. The trustees review the reserves policy every year. As a charity fortunate enough to have reserves, we have taken a strategic decision to use them, when necessary, to maintain a level of activity and invest in our future sustainability and resilience. The charity had reserves as at the 31st of March 2023 of £3.6 million. Please listen out for notes 17 and 18 of the annual accounts for more detail. Our reserves policy sets a target level of reserves which aims to maintain organisational resilience. This is set as follows. We aim to set aside enough money to meet potential needs such as an unexpected drop in income. We endeavour to hold an amount to cover 6 months' operating expenditure, excluding grants. Some of our assets are held as investments. We aim to include an amount to cover the volatility of these at 15% of the carrying value of the investments at the start of the year. We ensure there is a sum so that we can award our minimum level of grants. As of the 31st of March 2023, this equates to a reserves requirement of £1.92 million, meaning the charity held in excess of its target reserves level. On the 1st of April 2023, all reserves were transferred to Fight for Sight. As a consequence, Vision Foundation is no longer a going concern. However, all activities will be continuing within Fight for Sight. Our intention is to maintain Vision Foundation as a dormant entity in the medium term, with a view to closing it in the longer term. Investment policy. The Vision Foundation Board has delegated investment decisions to the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. The trustees require that the charity holds sufficient cash reserves in its current accounts to cover its operating activity. Under the guidance of the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee, subject to certain decisions being referred to the trustee board, remaining funds may be invested with due consideration given to the balancing of risk and reward. Investments are held in a form which can be drawn down within a short time frame as required. At year-end, £1.09 million investment funds were held within the COIF Charities Investment Fund, which is administered by CCLA. Remuneration policy for key management personnel. Salaries and remuneration for all staff are reviewed by the People Committee and approved through the annual budgeting process, reflecting comparable salaries across the sector and in similar organisations. In line with the delegation of authority policy, any material variances to the budget are scrutinised by the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee. Related parties and relationships with other organisations. These are set out in Note 10 of the annual accounts. Pro bono relationships. We have been incredibly fortunate to secure a range of partners who have contributed significantly to our achievements during the year through pro bono or gift-in-kind support. In line with the SORP, the contribution of pro bono legal advice, which we would otherwise have had to purchase, amounted to an estimated £219,000. This is in a year of great transition and transformation for the charity. These supporters are listed later in this recording. We cannot thank you enough for your wonderful support. Statement of responsibilities of the trustees. The trustees are responsible for preparing the trustees' annual report and financial statements in accordance with applicable law and United Kingdom accounting standards, United Kingdom Generally Accepted Accounting Practice. During the year ending 31st of March 2023, all trustees were also directors of Vision Foundation under company law. As of the 1st of April 2023, the 3 directors are Fight for Sight, Keith Felton and Lai Lam. Company law requires the directors to prepare financial statements which give a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the charitable company for each financial year and of the incoming resources and application of resources, including the income and expenditure of the charitable company for that period. In preparing these financial statements, the directors are required to select suitable accounting policies, then apply them consistently, observe the methods and principles in the charity's SORP, state whether applicable UK accounting standards and statements of recommended practice have been followed, subject to any material departures disclosed and explained in the financial statements, prepare the financial statements on the going concern basis unless it is inappropriate to presume that the charity will continue in operation. The directors are responsible for ensuring the keeping of adequate accounting records that disclose with reasonable accuracy at any time the financial position of the charitable company. In addition, they should enable them to ensure that the financial statements comply with the Companies Act 2006. They are also responsible for safeguarding the assets of the charitable company, hence for taking reasonable steps towards the prevention and detection of fraud and other irregularities. Insofar as the directors are aware, there is no relevant audit information of which the charitable company's auditor is unaware. The trustees have taken all steps they ought to have taken to make themselves aware of any relevant audit information and to establish the auditor is aware of that information. The directors are responsible for the maintenance and integrity of the corporate and financial information included on the charitable company's website. Legislation in the United Kingdom governing the preparation and dissemination of financial statements may differ from legislation in other jurisdictions. The member of the charity guarantees to contribute an amount not exceeding £1 to the assets of the charity in the event of winding up. Auditor. Sayer Vincent LLP was reappointed as the charitable company's auditor for the year and has expressed its willingness to continue in that capacity. The trustees' annual report has been prepared in accordance with the special provisions applicable to companies subject to the small companies regime. The trustees' annual report has been approved by the trustees on the 13th of December 2023 and signed on their behalf by Keith Felton, Director. Independent Auditor's Report to the members of Vision Foundation for London. Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of Vision Foundation for London, the charitable company, for the year ended the 1st of April 2023, which comprise the statement of financial activities, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, and notes to the financial statements, including significant accounting policies. The financial reporting framework that has been applied in their preparation is applicable law and United Kingdom accounting standards, including FRS 102, the financial reporting standard applicable in the UK and Republic of Ireland, United Kingdom generally accepted accounting practice. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the state of the charitable company's affairs as at the 1st of April 2023 and of its incoming resources and application of resources, including its income and expenditure for the year then ended, have been properly prepared in accordance with United Kingdom generally accepted accounting practice, have been prepared in accordance with the requirements of the Companies Act 2006. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing UK, ICES UK, and applicable law. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the charitable company in accordance with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statements in the UK, including the FRC's ethical standard, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Conclusions relating to going concern. Without modifying our opinion, we draw attention to the disclosures in the trustees' annual report and note 1D of the financial statements that it is the trustees' intention to strike this entity from the register of companies. As the company's ongoing operations have transferred to British Eye Research Foundation, Fight for Sight, as of the 1st of April 2023, they are ceasing within this entity, so the trustees have not prepared these financial statements on a going concern basis. Other information. The other information comprises the information included in the trustees' annual report other than the financial statements and our auditor's report thereon. The trustees are responsible for the other information contained within the annual report. Our opinion on the financial statements does not cover the other information, and except to the extent otherwise explicitly stated in our report, we do not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. Our responsibility is to read the other information and, in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the course of the audit or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. If we identify such material inconsistencies or apparent material misstatements, we are required to determine whether this gives rise to a material misstatement in the financial statements themselves. If, based on the work we have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of this other information, we are required to report that fact. We have nothing to report in this regard. Opinions on other matters prescribed by the Companies Act 2006. In our opinion, based on the work undertaken in the course of the audit, the information given in the trustees' annual report for the financial year for which the financial statements are prepared is consistent with the financial statements, and the trustees' annual report has been prepared in accordance with applicable legal requirements. Matters on which we are required to report by exception. In the light of the knowledge and understanding of the charitable company and its environment obtained in the course of the audit, we have not identified material misstatements in the trustees' annual report. We have nothing to report in respect of the following matters in relation to which the Companies Act 2006 requires us to report to you if, in our opinion, adequate accounting records have not been kept, or returns adequate for our audit have not been received from branches not visited by us, or the financial statements are not in agreement with the accounting records and returns, or certain disclosures of trustees' remuneration specified by law are not made, or we have not received all the information and explanations we require for our audit, or the directors were not entitled to prepare the financial statements in accordance with the small companies regime and take advantage of the small companies exemptions in preparing the trustees' annual report and from the requirement to prepare a strategic report. Responsibilities of trustees. As explained more fully in the Statement of Trustees' Responsibilities set out in the trustees' annual report, the trustees, who are also the directors of the charitable company for the purposes of company law, are responsible for the preparation of the financial statements and for being satisfied that they give a true and fair view, and for such internal control as the trustees determine is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the financial statements, the trustees are responsible for assessing the charitable company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing, as applicable, matters related to going concern and using the going concern basis of accounting unless the trustees either intend to liquidate the charitable company or to cease operations or have no realistic alternative but to do so. Author's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ICES UK will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if, individually or in the aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. Irregularities, including fraud, are instances of non-compliance with laws and regulations. We design procedures in line with our responsibilities, outlined above, to detect material misstatements in respect of irregularities, including fraud. The extent to which our procedures are capable of detecting irregularities, including fraud, are set out as follows. Capability of the audit in detecting irregularities. In identifying and assessing risks of material misstatement in respect of irregularities, including fraud and non-compliance with laws and regulations, our procedures included the following. We inquired of Management and Finance Audit and Risk Committee, which included obtaining and reviewing supporting documentation concerning the charity's policies and procedures relating to identifying, evaluating and complying with laws and regulations and whether they were aware of any instances of non-compliance, detecting and responding to the risks of fraud and whether they have knowledge of any actual, suspected or alleged fraud, the internal controls established to mitigate risks related to fraud or non-compliance with laws and regulations. We inspected the minutes of meetings of those charged with governance. We obtained an understanding of the legal and regulatory framework that the charity operates in, focusing on those laws and regulations that had a material effect on the financial statements or that had a fundamental effect on the operations of the charity from our professional and sector experience. We communicated applicable laws and regulations throughout the audit team and remained alert to any indications of non-compliance throughout the audit. We reviewed any reports made to regulators. We reviewed the financial statement disclosures and tested these to supporting documentation to assess compliance with applicable laws and regulations. We performed analytical procedures to identify any unusual or unexpected relationships that may indicate risks of material misstatement due to fraud. In addressing the risk of fraud through management override of controls, we tested the appropriateness of journal entries and other adjustments, assessed whether the judgments made in making accounting estimates are indicative of a potential bias, and tested significant transactions that are unusual or those outside the normal course of business. Because of the inherent limitations of an audit, there is a risk that we will not detect all irregularities, including those leading to a material misstatement in the financial statements or non-compliance with regulation. This risk increases the more that compliance with a law or regulation is removed from the events and transactions reflected in the financial statements, as we will be less likely to become aware of instances of non-compliance. The risk is also greater regarding irregularities occurring due to fraud rather than error, as fraud involves intentional concealment, forgery, collusion, omission or misrepresentation. A further description of our responsibilities is available on the Financial Reporting Council's website at www.frc.org.uk/auditors responsibilities. This description forms part of our auditor's report. Use of our report. This report is made solely to the charitable company's members as a body in accordance with Chapter 3 of Part 16 of the Companies Act 2006. Our audit work has been undertaken so that we might state to the charitable company's members those matters we are required to state to them in an auditor's report, and for no other purpose. To the fullest extent permitted by law, we do not accept or assume responsibility to anyone other than the charitable company and the charitable company's members as a body for our audit work, for this report, or for the opinions we have formed. Joanna Pittman, Senior Statutory Auditor. 13th of December 2023. For and on behalf of Sayer Vincent LLP, Statutory Auditor, Invicta House, 110 Golden Lane, London, EC1Y0TG. Statement of Financial Activities incorporating an income and expenditure account for the period ended 1st of April 2023. Income from donations, legacies and events. 2023 unrestricted £1,221,142, restricted £162,798, total £1,383,940. 2022 unrestricted £1,044,871, restricted £92,540, total £1,137,411. Investments 2023 unrestricted £41,733, restricted nil, total £41,733. 2022 unrestricted £34,457, restricted nil, total £34,457. Total fundraising income 2023 unrestricted £1,262,876, restricted £162,798, total £1,425,673. 2022 unrestricted £1,079,328, restricted £92,540, total £1,171,868. Total fundraising costs 2023 unrestricted -£600,028, restricted nil, total -£600,028. 2022 unrestricted -£430,847, restricted nil, total -£430,847. Fundraising contribution 2023 unrestricted £662,847, restricted £162,798, total £825,645. 2022 unrestricted £648,481, restricted £92,540, total £741,021. Trading income 2023 unrestricted £1,219,134, restricted nil, total £1,219,134. 2022 unrestricted £1,033,786, restricted nil, total £1,033,786. Trading expenditure 2023 unrestricted -£1,163,122, restricted nil, total -£1,163,122. 2022 unrestricted -£891,755, restricted nil, total -£891,755. Contribution from trading activities 2023 unrestricted £56,012, restricted nil, total £56,012. 2022 unrestricted £142,032, restricted nil, total £142,032. Funds available for charitable activities 2023 unrestricted £718,859, restricted £162,798, total £881,657. 2022 unrestricted £790,513, restricted £92,540, total £883,053. Total charitable expenditure, 2023 unrestricted minus £898,964, restricted minus £145,298, total minus £1,044,262. 2022 unrestricted minus £743,064, restricted minus £91,458, total minus £834,522. Net income before other adjustments, 2023 unrestricted minus £180,165, restricted £17,500, total minus £162,605. 2022 unrestricted £47,449, restricted £1,081, total £48,531. Represented by total income, 2023 unrestricted £2,482,010, restricted £162,798, total £2,644,808. 2022 unrestricted £2,113,114, restricted £92,540, total £2,205,654. Total expenditure, 2023 unrestricted minus £2,662,115, restricted minus £145,298, total minus £2,807,413. 2022 unrestricted minus £2,065,665, restricted minus £91,458, total minus £2,157,124. Net income before other adjustments, 2023 unrestricted minus £180,105, restricted £17,500, total minus £162,605. 2022 unrestricted £47,449, restricted £1,081, total £48,531. Loss or gain on valuation of investments, 2023 unrestricted a loss of £42,437, restricted nil, total a loss of £42,437. 2022 unrestricted a gain of £90,312, restricted nil, total a gain of £90,312. Net movement in funds, 2023 unrestricted minus £222,542, restricted £17,500, total minus £205,042. 2022 unrestricted £137,761, restricted £1,081, total £138,843. Reconciliation of funds. Total funds brought forward, 2023 unrestricted £2,340,005, restricted £2,500, total £2,342,505. 2022 unrestricted £2,202,244, restricted £1,419, total £2,203,663. Total funds carried forward at 31st of March 2023, 2023 unrestricted £2,117,463, restricted £20,000, total £2,137,463. 2022 unrestricted £2,340,005, restricted £2,500, total £2,342,505. Total funds brought forward on the 1st of April 2023, 2023 unrestricted £2,117,463, restricted £20,000, total £2,137,463. Gain on valuation of fixed assets, 2023 unrestricted £1,413,544, restricted nil, total £1,413,544. Gift of net assets to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, 2023 unrestricted minus £3,531,007, restricted £20,000, total minus £3,551,007. Total funds carried forward at end of the period, 2023 unrestricted nil, restricted nil, total nil. 2022 unrestricted £2,340,005, restricted £2,500, total £2,342,505. Vision Foundation agreed to merge with Fight for Sight, British Eye Research Foundation, as of the 1st of April 2023. The assets and liabilities of Vision Foundation were transferred to Fight for Sight at fair value on this date. Therefore, there are no continuing activities in this entity after this date. Balance sheet as at 31st of March and 1st of April 2023. Company number 03693002. Fixed assets. Tangible fixed assets, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £476,370, 31st of March 2022 £426,084. Listed investments, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £1,089,663, 31st of March 2022 £1,132,100. Total fixed assets, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £1,566,033, 31st of March 2022 £1,558,184. Current assets, debtors, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £346,834, 31st of March 2022 £378,061. Cash at bank and in hand, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £1,030,841, 31st of March 2022 £1,263,588. Total current assets, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £1,377,676, 31st of March 2022 £1,641,649. Current liabilities. Creditors, amounts falling due within 1 year, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 minus £601,596, 31st of March 2022 minus £656,146. Total current liabilities, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 minus £601,596, 31st of March 2022 minus £656,146. Net current assets, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £776,080, 31st of March 2022 £985,503. Total assets less current liabilities, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £2,342,113, 31st of March 2022 £2,543,687. Non-current liabilities, creditors, amounts falling due after 1 year. 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 minus £204,650, 31st of March 2022 minus £201,181. Total non-current liabilities, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 minus £204,650, 31st of March 2022 minus £201,181. Net assets, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £2,137,463, 31st of March 2022 £2,342,505. Represented by restricted income funds, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £20,000, 31st of March 2022 £2,500. Unrestricted funds, designated funds, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 nil, 31st of March 2022 £550,000. General funds, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £2,117,463, 31st of March 2022 £1,790,005. Revaluation reserve, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 nil, 31st of March 2022 nil. Total unrestricted funds, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £2,117,463, 31st of March 2022 £2,340,005. Total funds, 1st of April 2023 nil, 31st of March 2023 £2,137,463, 31st of March 2022 £2,342,505. Approved by the trustees on the 13th of December 2023 and signed on their behalf by Keith Felton, Director. Statement of cash flows for the period ended 1st of April 2023. Cash flows from operating activities. Net income or expenditure up to 31st of March 2023, 2023 minus £205,042, 2022 £138,843. Add or less depreciation charges, 2023 £56,206, 2022 £39,563. Loss on disposal of fixed assets, 2023 £6,703, 2022 £7,097. Dividends and interest from investments, 2023 minus £41,733, 2022 minus £34,457. Loss or gain on investments, 2023 a loss of £42,437, 2022 a gain of £90,312. Decrease in debtors, 2023 £31,226, 2022 £173,052. Decrease in creditors, 2023 minus £51,083, 2022 minus £270,874. Net cash flow from operating activities, 2023 minus £161,285, 2022 minus £37,089. Cash flows from investing activities. Dividends and interests from investments, 2023 £41,733, 2022 £34,457. Purchase of fixed assets, 2023 minus £113,195, 2022 minus £114,457. Net cash used in investing activities, 2023 minus £71,462, 2022 minus £80,000. Change in cash and cash equivalents up to the 31st of March, 2023 minus £232,747, 2022 minus £117,089. Cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of the period, 2023 £1,263,588, 2022 £1,380,677. Cash and cash equivalents at 31st of March 2023, 2023 £1,030,841, 2022 £1,263,588. Transfer of cash to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, 2023 minus £1,030,841, 2022 nil. Cash and cash equivalents at 1st of April 2023, 2023 nil, 2022 nil. Notes to the financial statements for the period ended 1st of April 2023. 1. Accounting policies. A. Statutory information. Vision Foundation for London is a charitable company limited by guarantee and is incorporated in the United Kingdom. The registered office address is 12 Whitehorse Mews, 37 Westminster Bridge Road, London SE1 7QD. B. Basis of preparation. The financial statements have been prepared in accordance with Accounting and Reporting by Charities Statement of Recommended Practice applicable to charities preparing their accounts in accordance with the Financial Reporting Standard applicable to charities preparing their accounts in accordance with the Financial Reporting Standard applicable in the UK and Republic of Ireland FRS 102, Charities SORP FRS 102, the Financial Reporting Standard applicable in the UK and Republic of Ireland FRS 102, and the Companies Act 2006. Assets and liabilities were initially recognised at historical cost or transaction value unless otherwise stated in the relevant accounting policy or note. The wholly owned subsidiary GLF Charitable Purposes Trading Company Limited was consolidated on a line-by-line basis until it ceased trading on the 31st of September 2021. The trading company was dissolved in September 2022. The trustees do not consider that there are any sources of estimation uncertainty at the reporting date that have a significant risk of causing a material adjustment to the carrying amounts of assets and liabilities within the next reporting period. Upon merging with Fight for Sight, British Eye Research Foundation, the property held within tangible fixed assets was revalued to fair value for transfer. C. Public benefit entity. The charitable company meets the definition of a public benefit entity under FRS 102. D. Going concern. Vision Foundation agreed to merge with Fight for Sight, British Eye Research Foundation, as of the 1st of April 2023. The assets and liabilities of Vision Foundation were transferred to Fight for Sight at fair value on this date and became a dormant subsidiary of Fight for Sight. All activities from this date are being run through Fight for Sight, therefore this entity is not a going concern. D. Income. Income is recognised when the charity has entitlement to the funds, any performance conditions attached to the income have been met, it is probable that the income will be received, and that the amount can be measured reliably. For legacies, entitlement is taken as the earlier of the date on which either the charity is aware that probate has been granted, the estate has been finalised, and notification has been made by the executor or executors to the charity that a distribution will be made, or when a distribution is received from the estate. Receipt of a legacy, in whole or in part, is only considered probable when the amount can be measured reliably, the charity has been notified of the executor's intention to make a distribution, executors have established that there are sufficient assets in the estate to pay the legacy, and performance obligations have been met. Where legacies have been notified to the charity, or the charity is aware of the granting of probate, and the criteria for income recognition have not been met, then the legacy is treated as a contingent asset and disclosed if material. Income received in advance of the provision of a specified service is deferred until the criteria for income recognition are met. Claims made through the UK Government's Coronavirus Job Retention Support Scheme are recognised as income in the period that the associated staff were furloughed. This income is considered to be unrestricted. Small business retail grants have been recognised as unrestricted income in the periods to which they relate. E. Donations of services. Donated professional services are recognised as income when the charity has received the service, any conditions associated with the donation have been met, the receipt of economic benefit from the use by the charity of the item is probable, and that economic benefit can be measured reliably. On receipt, professional services are recognised on the basis of the value of the gift to the charity, which is the amount the charity would have been willing to pay to obtain services or facilities of equivalent economic benefit on the open market. A corresponding amount is then recognised in expenditure in the period of receipt. F. Interest receivable. Interest on funds held on deposit is included when receivable, and the amount can be measured reliably by the charity. This is normally upon notification of the interest paid or payable by the bank. G. Fund accounting. Unrestricted funds are donations and other incoming resources received or generated for the charitable purposes. Designated funds are unrestricted funds earmarked by the trustees for particular purposes. Restricted funds are to be used for specific purposes as laid down by the donor. H. Expenditure and irrecoverable VAT. Expenditure is recognised once there is a legal or constructive obligation to make a payment to a third party, it is probable that settlement will be required, and the amount of the obligation can be measured reliably. Expenditure is classified under the following activity headings. Costs of raising funds relate to the costs incurred by the charitable company in inducing third parties to make voluntary contributions to it, as well as the cost of any activities with a fundraising purpose. Expenditure on charitable activities includes the costs undertaken to further the purposes of the charity and their associated support costs. Irrecoverable VAT is charged as a cost against the activity for which the expenditure was incurred. Restricted funds are to be used for specific purposes as laid down by the donor. Expenditure which meets these criteria is charged to the fund. I. Grants payable. Grants payable are made to third parties in furtherance of the charity's objects. Single or multi-year grants are accounted for when either the recipient has a reasonable expectation that they will receive a grant and the trustees have agreed to pay the grant without condition, or the recipient has a reasonable expectation that they will receive a grant and that any condition attaching to the grant is outside of the control of the charity. Provisions for grants are made when the intention to make a grant has been communicated to the recipient, but there is uncertainty about either the timing of the grant or the amount of grant payable. J. Allocation of support costs. Resources expended are allocated to the particular activity where the cost relates directly to that activity. The cost of overall direction and administration of activities, comprising the salary and overhead costs of the central function, is apportioned based on the weighting of expenditure incurred in direct activities. Where information about the aims, objectives and projects of the charity is provided to potential beneficiaries, the costs associated with this publicity are allocated to charitable expenditure. K. Operating leases. Rental charges are charged on a straight-line basis over the term of the lease. L. Tangible fixed assets. Fixed assets with a purchase price exceeding £2,000 are capitalised and depreciated over their useful economic life. Assets are reviewed for impairment if circumstances indicate their carrying value may exceed their net realisable value and value in use. Where fixed assets have been revalued, any excess between the revalued amount and the historic cost of the asset will be shown as a revaluation reserve in the balance sheet. For the purposes of the merger, the freehold property has been revalued to fair value in this financial year. Depreciation is provided at rates calculated to write down the cost of each asset to its estimated residual value over its expected useful life. The depreciation rates in use are as follows: motor vehicles over 5 years, leasehold improvements over 4 to 10 years, furniture and office equipment over 3 to 10 years, database over 4 years, models and collection materials over 5 years. Due to the merger between Vision Foundation and Fight for Sight, British Eye Research Foundation, on the 1st of April 2023, Vision Foundation revalued its property to fair value before the transfer of its assets and liabilities to Fight for Sight, and therefore the property is held at fair value at 31st of March 2023. M. Other investments. Investments are a form of basic financial instruments and are initially recognised at their transaction value and subsequently measured at their fair value as at the balance sheet date using the closing quoted bid value price. Any change in fair value will be recognised in the statement of financial activities. Investment gains and losses, whether realised or unrealised, are combined and shown in the heading Net Gains or Losses on Investments in the statement of financial activities. The charity does not acquire put options, derivatives or other complex financial instruments. N. Debtors. Trade and other debtors are recognised at the settlement amount due after any trade discount offered. Prepayments are valued at the amount prepaid net of any trade discounts due. O. Cash at bank and in hand. Cash at bank and cash in hand includes cash and short-term highly liquid investments with a maturity of 6 months or less from the date of acquisition or opening of the deposit or similar account. P. Creditors and provisions. Creditors and provisions are recognised where the charity has a present obligation resulting from a past event that will probably result in the transfer of funds to a third party, and the amount due to settle the obligation can be measured or estimated reliably. Creditors and provisions are normally recognised at their settlement amount after allowing for any trade discounts due. Q. Financial instruments. The charity only has financial assets and financial liabilities of a kind that qualify as basic financial instruments. Basic financial instruments are initially recognised at transaction value and subsequently measured at their settlement value, with the exception of bank loans, which are subsequently measured at amortised cost using the effective interest method. R. Pensions. The fund contributes to a defined contribution pension scheme for employees under auto-enrolment. The assets of the scheme are held separately from those of the undertaking in an independently administered fund. The pension costs charge represents contributions payable by the fund to the scheme. 2. Income from donations, legacies and events. Gifts. 2023. Unrestricted £219,480, restricted nil, total £219,480. 2022 total £69,896. Legacies. 2023 unrestricted £330,889, restricted nil, total £330,889. 2022 total £321,299. Donations. 2023 unrestricted £371,394, restricted £5,321, total £376,715. 2022 total £521,926. Corporate and trust donations. 2023 unrestricted £140,955, restricted £157,477, total £298,432. 2022 total £181,596. Events. 2023 unrestricted £157,742, restricted nil, total £157,742. 2022 total £35,487. Other income. 2023 unrestricted £682, restricted nil, total £682. 2022 total £7,207. Total income from donations, legacies and events. 2023 unrestricted £1,221,142, restricted £162,798, total £1,383,940. 2022 total £1,137,411. The charity has been notified of certain legacies which have not been accrued due to uncertainty as to the amount and timing of the receipt. The estimated value of these legacies is in the region of £371,000, 2022 £524,000. Included within gifts is £219,000, 2022 £55,000, of pro bono legal support provided during the year. 3. Income from trading activities. Sales of donated goods. 2023 unrestricted £1,187,773, restricted nil, total £1,187,773. 2022 total £923,054. Income from government grants, 2023 unrestricted £23,900, restricted nil, total £23,900, 2022 total £76,546. Other income, 2023 unrestricted £7,462, restricted nil, total £7,462, 2022 total £34,186. Total income from trading activities, 2023 unrestricted £1,219,134, restricted nil, total £1,219,134, 2022 total £1,033,786. 4. Income from investments. Interest and dividends, 2023 unrestricted £41,733, restricted nil, total £41,733, 2022 total £34,457. Total income from investments, 2023 unrestricted £41,733, restricted nil, total £41,733, 2022 total £34,457. All investment income in 2022 was unrestricted. 5a. Analysis of expenditure 2022-23. Reader's note. In the following table, fundraising costs and trading are under the heading Raising Funds. Charitable activities, support costs and governance costs are not under the heading Raising Funds. End of reader's note. Grants to individual charities. Fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities £447,474, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2023 total £447,474. Research, campaigning and advocacy, fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities £9,220, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2023 total £9,220. Staff costs, fundraising costs £294,813, trading £676,171, charitable activities £263,017, support costs £113,326, governance costs nil, 2023 total £1,347,327. General fundraising. Fundraising costs £96,490, trading nil, charitable activities nil, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2023 total £96,490. Rents, rates and office costs, fundraising costs £15,409, trading £314,023, charitable activities £529, support costs £123,577, governance costs nil, 2023 total £453,538. Audit and accountancy fees, fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities nil, support costs nil, governance costs £14,450, 2023 total £14,450. Governance and legal costs, fundraising costs £467, trading £17,595, charitable activities nil, support costs £220,928, governance costs £4,852, 2023 total £243,842. Other costs, fundraising costs £13,447, trading £117,836, charitable activities £11,800, support costs £51,989, governance costs nil, 2023 total £195,072. Total, fundraising costs £420,627, trading £1,125,625, charitable activities £732,040, support costs £509,820, governance costs £19,302, 2023 total £2,807,413. Support costs, fundraising costs £176,833, trading £25,234, charitable activities £307,752, support costs minus £509,820, governance costs nil, 2023 total nil. Governance costs, fundraising costs £2,568, trading £12,263, charitable activities £4,470, support costs nil, governance costs minus £19,302, 2023 total nil. Total expenditure 2022-23, Fundraising costs £600,028, trading £1,163,122, charitable activities £1,044,262, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2023 total £2,807,413. 5b. Analysis of Expenditure 2021-22. Reader's note: in the following table, fundraising costs and trading are under the heading Raising Funds. Charitable activities, support costs and governance costs are not under the heading Raising Funds. End of reader's note. Grants to individual charities. Fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities £401,987, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2022 total £401,987. Research, campaigning and advocacy. Fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities £104,106, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2022 total £104,106. Staff costs. Fundraising costs £318,145, trading £573,095, charitable activities £255,127, support costs £102,850, governance costs nil, 2022 total £1,249,218. General fundraising. Fundraising costs £52,130, trading nil, charitable activities nil, support costs nil, government costs nil, 2022 total £52,130. Rents, rates and office costs. Fundraising costs £9,756, trading £236,977, charitable activities £616, support costs minus £161,256, governance costs nil, 2022 total £86,092. Audit and accountancy fees. Fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities nil, support costs nil, governance costs £11,768, 2022 total £11,768. Governance and legal costs. Fundraising costs nil, trading nil, charitable activities nil, support costs £55,446, governance costs £3,036, 2022 total £58,482. Other costs. Fundraising costs £14,835, trading £102,140, charitable activities £2,995, support costs £73,370, governance costs nil, 2022 total £193,341. Total fundraising costs £394,867, trading £912,212, charitable activities £764,832, support costs £70,409, governance costs £14,804, 2022 total £2,157,124. Support costs. Fundraising costs £34,220, trading minus £30,092, charitable activities £66,281, support costs minus £70,409, governance costs nil, 2022 total nil. Governance costs. Fundraising costs £1,760, trading £9,634, charitable activities £3,409, support costs nil, governance costs minus £14,804, 2022 total nil. Total expenditure 2021-22, fundraising costs £430,847, trading £891,755, charitable activities £834,522, support costs nil, governance costs nil, 2022 total £2,157,124. 6. Grant making. Grants to institutions. Amber, 2023 £10,000, 2022 nil. Amy and Friends, 2023 £9,965, 2022 £9,790. Belugi Music Foundation, 2023 £24,405, 2022 £19,288. Beacon Centre for the Blind, 2023 £16,394, 2022 nil. Blind Aid, 2023 nil, 2022 £20,000. Blind in Business, 2023 £35,000, 2022 £25,000. Blind Veterans UK, 2023 nil, 2022 nil. Croydon Vision, 2023 £49,820, 2022 nil. Deafblind UK, 2023 nil, 2022 £49,924. Extant, 2023 £16,950, 2022 £14,951. Going for Independence, 2023 nil, 2022 £18,424. The Grey Eye Theatre Company Limited, 2023 nil, 2022 £9,375. Kent Association for the Blind, 2023 £10,000, 2022 £4,480. Kingston upon Thames Association for the Blind, 2023 £10,000, 2022 £5,000. The Living Paintings Trust, 2023 £10,000, 2022 nil. Look UK, 2023 nil, 2022 £20,000. Lunch Club Plus for the Blind, 2023 nil, 2022 £3,000. Middlesex Association for the Blind, 2023 nil, 2022 £55,000. One Place East, 2023 nil, 2022 £3,940. Pegs, 2023 £5,000, 2022 nil. Polka Children's Theatre Limited, 2023 nil, 2022 £8,500. Refuge, 2023 £43,977, 2022 nil. RNIB, 2023 £19,261, 2022 £45,000. Royal Society for Blind Children, 2023 £48,820, 2022 nil. Safe Lives, 2023 £49,674, 2022 nil. Seeability, 2023 nil, 2022 £50,000. Sight for Surrey, 2023 £13,490, 2022 £5,000. Solace Women's Aid, 2023 £49,968, 2022 nil. Sutton Vision, 2023 nil, 2022 £5,000. Talking News Islington, 2023 nil, 2022 £1,500. Time and Talents, 2023 £4,750, 2022 nil. Visionability, 2023 £10,000, 2022 £9,000. Vision Care for Homeless People, 2023 £10,000, 2022 nil. Visionary, 2023 nil, 2022 £19,815. Total, 2023 £447,474, 2022 £401,987. 7. Net income and expenditure for the year. This is stated after charging and crediting. Depreciation, 2023 £56,206, 2022 £39,563. Loss or profit on disposal of fixed assets, 2023 £6,703, 2022 £7,097. Operating lease rentals, 2023 £215,613, 2022 £184,908. Auditors' remuneration excluding VAT. Audit, 2023 £11,000, 2022 £9,600. Other services, 2023 £2,200, 2022 £960. 8. Analysis of staff costs, trustee remuneration and expenses, and the cost of key management personnel. Staff costs were as follows. Salaries and wages, 2023 £1,194,619, 2022 £1,108,721. Redundancy and termination costs, 2023 nil, 2022 £1,632. Social Security costs, 2023 £103,802, 2022 £91,690. Employers' contribution to defined contribution pension schemes, 2023 £48,907, 2022 £47,174. Total staff costs, 2023 £1,347,327, 2022 £1,249,218. The following numbers of staff have emoluments above £60,000. £60,000 to £69,999, 2023 1, 2022 1. £70,000 to £79,999, 2023 1, 2022 2. £80,000 to £89,999, 2023 1, 2022 nil. The key management personnel are the members of the executive leadership team. The total employee benefits, including employers' pension contributions and employers' national insurance contributions of the key management personnel, were £394,000, 2022 £382,000. The charity trustees were neither paid nor received any other benefits from employment with the charity in the year, 2022 nil. One charity trustee received payment for professional services supplied to the charity totalling £2,000, 2022 £2,000. These payments were approved in advance by the board, and the trustee receiving payment was not involved in the decision-making or approval of said payment. Trustees' expenses represents the payment or reimbursement of travel and subsistence costs. This totalled nil, 2022 nil. 9. Staff numbers. The average number of employees, headcount based on number of staff employed, during the year was as follows. Office and Management, 2023 5, 2022 4. Fundraising, Publicity and Collections, 2023 11, 2022 12. Grant Making, 2023 2, 2022 3. Trading Activities, 2023 24, 2022 23. Total, 2023 42, 2022 42. Related party transactions. In 2022-23, two trustees of the fund, B. Hughes and S. Mansour, were chief executives of Sight for Surrey and Croydon Vision respectively. In 2022-23, Sight for Surrey received two grants of £10,000 and £3,490, and Croydon Vision received one grant of £49,820. In 2021-22, Sight for Surrey received a grant of £5,000 and Croydon Vision did not receive a grant. Neither trustee sat on the committee responsible for recommending approval of grants. There are no donations from related parties which are outside the normal course of business and no restricted donations from related parties. 11. Tangible fixed assets. Cost. At the start of the period, freehold property £459,761, motor vehicles £21,369, leasehold improvements £140,508, furniture and office equipment £107,846, database £29,704, total £759,188. Additions in period: freehold property nil, motor vehicles nil, leasehold improvements £105,495, furniture and office equipment £7,700, database nil, total £113,195. Disposals in period: freehold property nil, motor vehicles nil, leasehold improvements minus £9,362, furniture and office equipment minus £39,969, database minus £18,089, total minus £67,421. At 31st of March 2023, freehold property £459,761, motor vehicles £21,369, leasehold improvements £236,642, furniture and office equipment £75,577, database £11,615, total £804,963. Depreciation. At the start of the period, freehold property minus £211,966, motor vehicles minus £1,786, leasehold improvements minus £27,335, furniture and office equipment minus £65,613, database minus £26,404, total minus £333,104. Depreciation charge for period: freehold property minus £11,339, motor vehicles minus £3,573, leasehold improvements minus £27,532, furniture and office equipment minus £12,322, database minus £1,440, total minus £56,206. Eliminated on disposal: freehold property nil, motor vehicles nil, leasehold improvements £5,810, furniture and office equipment £36,818, database £18,089, total £60,717. As at the 31st of March 2023, freehold property minus £223,305, motor vehicles minus £5,359, leasehold improvements minus £49,057, furniture and office equipment minus £41,117, database minus £9,755, total minus £328,593. Net book value at 31st of March 2023, freehold property £236,456, motor vehicles £16,009, leasehold improvements £187,584, furniture and office equipment £34,460, database £1,860, total £476,370. Revaluations in period: freehold property £1,413,544, motor vehicles nil, leasehold improvements nil, furniture and office equipment nil, database nil, total £1,413,544. Transfer to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, freehold property minus £1,650,000, motor vehicles minus £16,009, leasehold improvements minus £187,584, furniture and office equipment minus £34,460, database minus £1,860, total minus £1,889,913. At 1st of April 2023, freehold property nil, motor vehicles nil, leasehold improvements nil, furniture and office equipment nil, database nil, total nil. At the start of the period, freehold property £247,795, motor vehicles £19,582, leasehold improvements £113,174, furniture and office equipment £42,233, database £3,300, total £426,084. All of the above assets are used for charitable purposes. Due to the merger between Vision Foundation and Fight for Sight, British Eye Research Foundation, on the 1st of April 2023, Vision Foundation revalued its property, White Horse Mews, to fair value before the transfer of its assets and liabilities to Fight for Sight, and therefore the property is held at fair value at 31st of March 2023. The valuation was undertaken by a member of Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, RICS, in October 2022. The property was valued at £1,650,000. 12. Investments. Listed investments brought forward: 2023 £1,132,100, 2022 £1,041,788. Net gain or loss on change in fair value: 2023 a loss of £42,437, 2022 a gain of £90,312. Fair value of listed investments at 31st of March 2023: 2023 £1,089,663, 2022 £1,132,100. Transfer to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, minus £1,089,663. Fair value of listed investments at 1st of April 2023, nil. 13. Debtors. Other debtors: 2023 £30,497, 2022 £73,973. Prepayments: 2023 £86,275, 2022 £91,674. Accrued income: 2023 £230,063, 2022 £212,414. At 31st of March 2023, £346,834, 2022 £378,061. Transfer to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, minus £346,834. At 1st of April 2023, nil. 14. Creditors, amounts falling due within 1 year. Trade creditors: 2023 £31,760, 2022 £52,325. Taxation and Social Security: 2023 minus £2,371, 2022 £10,733. Other creditors, accruals and deferred income: 2023 £98,861, 2022 £165,750. Dilapidation provision: 2023 £26,051, 2022 nil. Grants payable: 2023 £447,296, 2022 £359,266. At 31st of March 2023, £601,596, 2022 £588,073. Transfer to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, minus £601,596. At 1st of April 2023, nil. 15. Creditors, amounts falling due after 1 year. Grants payable within 1 to 2 year: 2023, £77,328, 2022, £90,332. Grants payable within 2 to 5 years, 2023 nil, 2022 £21,038. Dilapidation provision, 2023 £71,754, 2022 £89,811. Other creditors, 2023 £55,568, 2022 £68,073. As at the 31st of March, 2023 £204,650, 2022 £269,255. Transfer to Fight for Sight on the 1st of April 2023, minus £204,650. At 1st of April 2023, nil. Dilapidation provision. Balance brought forward 2023 £89,811, 2022 £106,457. Decrease or increase in provision. 2023 a decrease of £18,057, 2022 a decrease of £16,646. Balance brought forward and carried forward, 2023 £71,754, 2022 £89,811. 16. Vision Foundation Flexible Retirement Plan. The charity participates in an occupational defined contribution scheme which is open to staff and is a qualifying pension scheme for auto-enrolment purposes. All eligible employees joined this scheme from the staging date of the 1st of March 2016. The charity performed a statutory re-enrolment staging date at the 1st of April 2019 and 1st of April 2022. 17A. Analysis of net assets between funds, current period. Reader's note. There now follows a table on which the rows are tangible fixed assets, investments, net current assets, long-term liabilities, and the columns are general unrestricted, revaluation reserve, designated funds, restricted funds, and total funds. And the totals row is net assets at 1st of April 2023. All entries in this table are nil. End of reader's note. 17B. Analysis of net assets between funds, current period. Reader's note. On this table, the end date is the 31st of March 2023. End of reader's note. Tangible fixed assets. General unrestricted, £476,370. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds nil. Total funds £476,370. Investments. General unrestricted, £1,089,663. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds nil. Total funds £1,865,743. Net current assets. General unrestricted £756,080. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds £20,000. Total funds £571,430. Long-term liabilities. General unrestricted, minus £204,650. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds nil. Total funds minus £204,650. Net assets at 31st of March 2023. General unrestricted £2,117,463. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds £20,000. Total funds £2,137,463. 17C. Analysis of net assets between funds, prior year. Tangible fixed assets. General unrestricted £426,084. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds nil. Total funds £426,084. Investments. General unrestricted £582,100. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds £550,000. Restricted funds nil. Total funds £2,117,602. Net current assets. General unrestricted £983,003. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds £2,500. Total funds £784,321. Long-term liabilities. General unrestricted minus £201,181. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds nil. Restricted funds nil. Total funds minus £201,181. Net assets at 31st of March 2022. General unrestricted £1,790,005. Revaluation reserve nil. Designated funds £550,000. Restricted funds £2,500. Total funds £2,342,505. 18A. Movements in reserves, current period from 31st of March 2023 to 1st of April 2023. Restricted funds, loneliness and isolation, at 31st of March 2023, £20,000, income and gains nil, gift to Fight for Sight minus £20,000, balance at 1st of April 2023 nil. Total restricted funds, at 31st of March 2023, £20,000, income and gains nil, gift to Fight for Sight minus £20,000, balance at 1st of April 2023 nil. Unrestricted reserves, general reserves, at 31st of March 2023, £2,117,463, income and gains nil, gift to Fight for Sight minus £2,117,463, balance at 1st of April 2023 nil. Revaluation reserve, at 31st of March 2023 nil, income and gains £1,413,544, gift to Fight for Sight minus £1,413,544, balance at 1st of April 2023 nil. Total reserves, at 31st of March 2023, £2,137,463, income and gains £1,413,544, gift to Fight for Sight minus £3,551,007, balance at 1st of April 2023 nil. 18B. Movements in reserves, current period to 31st of March 2023. Restricted funds, domestic violence research, at 1st of April 2022, £2,500, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £2,500, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. Polka Theatre Project, at 1st of April 2022 nil, income and gains £1,300, expenditure and losses minus £1,300, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. Centenary Appeal, at 1st of April 2022 nil, income and gains £60,000, expenditure and losses minus £60,000, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. Domestic violence training and toolkits, at 1st of April 2022 nil, income and gains £81,498, expenditure and losses minus £81,498, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. Loneliness and isolation, at 1st of April 2022 nil, income and gains £20,000, expenditure and losses nil, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 £20,000. Total restricted funds, at 1st of April 2022, £2,500, income and gains £162,798, expenditure and losses minus £145,298, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023, £20,000. Unrestricted reserves, designated reserves, strategic grants reserve, at 1st of April 2022, £350,000, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £350,000, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. Strategic Purposes Reserve, at 1st of April 2022, £200,000, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £200,000, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. Total designated reserves, at 1st of April 2022, £550,000, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £550,000, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023 nil. General reserves, at 1st of April 2022, £1,790,005, income and gains £2,439,573, expenditure and losses minus £2,112,115, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023, £2,117,463. Total reserves, at 1st of April 2022, £2,342,505, income and gains £2,602,371, expenditure and losses minus £2,807,413, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2023, £2,137,463. 18C. Movements in reserves prior year. Restricted funds. Employment research, at 1st of April 2021, £1,419, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £1,419, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 nil. West Norwood refurbishment, at 1st of April 2021 nil, income and gains £6,250, expenditure and losses minus £6,250, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 nil. Domestic violence research, at 1st of April 2021 nil, income and gains £30,000, expenditure and losses minus £27,500, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 £2,500. Digital Connect, at 1st of April 2021 nil, income and gains £5,000, expenditure and losses minus £5,000, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 nil. See My Skills, at 1st of April 2021 nil, income and gains £7,391, expenditure and losses minus £7,391, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 nil. Big Give, at 1st of April 2021 nil, income and gains £43,899, expenditure and losses minus £43,899, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 nil. Total restricted funds, at 1st of April 2021 £1,419, income and gains £92,540, expenditure and losses minus £91,458, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 £2,500. Unrestricted reserves, designated reserves, Centenary Reserve, at 1st of April 2021 £47,568, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £47,568, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 nil. Strategic Grants Reserve, at 1st of April 2021 £350,000, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses nil, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 £350,000. Strategic Purposes Reserve, at 1st of April 2021 £200,000, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses nil, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 £200,000. Total designated reserves, at 1st of April 2021 £597,568, income and gains nil, expenditure and losses minus £47,568, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 minus £550,000. General Funds, at 1st of April 2021 £1,633,898, income and gains £1,678,112, expenditure and losses minus £1,579,067, transfers £57,062, at 31st of March 2022 £1,790,005. Trading Funds, at 1st of April 2021 minus £29,222, income and gains £525,314, expenditure and losses minus £439,030, transfers minus £57,062, at 31st of March 2022 nil. Total unrestricted reserves, at 1st of April 2021 £2,203,663, income and gains £2,295,966, expenditure and losses minus £2,157,124, transfers nil, at 31st of March 2022 £2,342,505. 2022-23 Domestic Violence Research, investigation into domestic violence and abuse that visually impaired people can face. Polka Theatre Project to support an audio-described theatre production. Centenary Appeal, contributing towards positive employment outcomes for visually impaired people. Domestic violence training and toolkits, tools and trainings to support visually impaired people undergoing domestic violence and abuse. Loneliness and Isolation to support upcoming work for visually impaired people facing loneliness and isolation. 2021-22 Employment Research, investigation into factors contributing towards positive employment outcomes for visually impaired people. West Norwood refurbishment for refurbishment of our West Norwood shop and warehouse. Domestic Violence Research, investigation into domestic violence and abuse that visually impaired people can face. Digital Connect, supporting digital development in the organisation. See My Skills, funding projects linked to our See My Skills employment campaign. Big Give, funding projects linked to employment through funds raised via Big Give. Purposes of designated reserves. Designated reserves have been set aside by trustees in order to pursue specific strategic aims. The Grants Reserve had been designated to ensure we can maintain a grants programme focused on achieving impact for blind and partially sighted people and organisational sustainability. The Strategic Purposes Reserve had been designated for investment in retail activities and other strategic initiatives. 19. Operating lease commitments. The total future minimum lease payments under non-cancelable operating leases are as follows for each of the following periods. Property. Less than 1 year, 2023 £349,782, 2022 £183,532. 1 to 5 years, 2023 £737,593, 2022 £123,717. Total 2023 £1,087,374, 2022 £307,249. 20. Merger with Fight for Sight. On the 1st of April 2023, Fight for Sight, British Eye Research Foundation, merged with Vision Foundation, Vision Foundation for London, by means of a transfer of assets from Vision Foundation to Fight for Sight. All activities in Vision Foundation ceased from that date. Therefore, the financial statements for Vision Foundation have been prepared up to 1st of April 2023. 21. Legal status of the charity. The charity is a company limited by guarantee and has no share capital. The liability of each member in the event of winding up is limited to £1. Thank you. We would like to thank the following partners and supporters who have contributed significantly to our work this year through donations, pro bono support or gifts in kind. We cannot thank you enough for your support and commitment. Aon UK, Argus Media, Aspen Insurance Holdings, BNP Paribas, CBRE, Chubb Insurance, Harbordale Capital, the Insurance Industry Charitable Foundation, Latham & Watkins LLP, Lifeways, Portner, with special thanks to Daniel Broughton, Serena Hesmondhalgh, Sidley Austin LLP, Tokyo Marine Kiln, Adrian and Lisa Binks, the Arnold Clark Community Fund, Caroline Edgley, Dame Bonita Rain and BMR Foundation, Deirdre Brennan, Erach and Roshan Sadri Foundation, Harrison Goldman, Heather Goodhue, Ian Davis, Jack Petchy Foundation, James Roberts, James Ryan, Jane Bauer, Joe McKendrick, John Casson Foundation, Julian Goodhue, Lady Frances Petchy, née Siegelman, Lawrence Geller, Lai Lamb, Maureen and Barry Minton, Nick Edgley, Paul Wilkes, Richard Farr, Stephen Roberts, the Harold Hyam Wingate Foundation, the McGrath Charitable Trust, the Powell Family Foundation, TPFF, the Sculudi Foundation, the Steel Charitable Trust, Thomas Morgan, Tracy Ann Shelbu. With special thanks to our legacy donors this year, their generous decision to remember Vision Foundation in their will has enabled us to continue our vital work at a time when it's most needed. Sophia Czeslova-Kapiszewska, Joyce Evelyn Jackson Gamlin, Mr. D. Mulquin, Mr. John Hewson, Mr. Michael Allen Cutt, Mr. Michael R. Nutt, Mr. Roland Rossiter Potter, Mrs. Eileen A. Welsh, Mrs. Henrietta Nathan, Mrs. Joan Shea. Lastly, we would like to thank our Royal Patron, Vice Presidents, Trustees, Appeal Board and Advisory Committee members who give their time, expertise and profile in support of ensuring change for blind and partially sighted people. We could not exist without your support. Royal Patron, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh. Our Vice Presidents, Cherie Blair CBE KC, the Right Honourable the Lord Blunkett, Sir Rocco Forte, the Right Honourable Sir John Major KGCH, Lady Frances Petchy, Sir Trevor MacDonald, Ian Davis. Our trustees, Darren Barker, Victoria Curry, Heather Goodhue, Chair, Keith Felton, Elizabeth Honour, Bob Hughes, Lai Lamb, Treasurer, Susanette Mansour, Dr. Amit Patel, Sharon Petrie. Our Grants and Impact Advisory Committee, Darren Barker, Chair, Natalie Doig, Dr. Amit Patel, Keith Valentine. Retail Advisory Committee, Colin Henry, Rebecca O'Hagan. Special Advisor on Inclusive Employment, Steph Cutler. Our Centenary Appeal Board, Lisa Binks, Ian Davis, Richard Farr, David Gold, Heather Goodhue, Co-Chair, Harry Harris, Marisa Jurgens, Alan Pickering, Gavin Prentice, Naki Rizvi, Co-Chair. Connect with us. Call us 020 7620 2066. Email us hello@visionfoundation.org.uk. Website www.visionfoundation.org.uk. Twitter @vision_FDN. Facebook @visionFDN. Instagram @vision_FDN. Registered charity number 1074958/1111-438. Vision Foundation, Fight for Sight, 18 Mansell Street, London E1 8AA. In an email from Keith Valentine to the Vision Foundation team following the announcement of the planned merger with Fight for Sight sent in December, he said, This merger will enable us to grow our funding, which means a stronger, more impactful organisation for the years to come. Simply, our cause is too important to miss this opportunity. I'm thrilled to build on what we have already done as two separate entities to take us to the next level, because my goal for us is nothing short of changing the world for blind and visually impaired people.